Russian drones crossed into Poland. NATO shot them down, its first strike on Russian assets since the Ukraine war began. Now, Eastern Sentry is live. Jets, frigates, missile shields rushing east. Rutte calls Moscow reckless. Tusk hails swift action. Zelensky offers help. Washington vows to defend every inch. Europe braces for escalation, confrontation, and the risk of war. NATO has launched an operation named Eastern Sentry to bolster the defence of Europe's eastern flank in response to Russian drone incursions into Polish airspace on the night of September 10th and early morning of September 11th. In a joint press conference with Supreme Allied Commander Europe General Alexis G. Grinkewicz, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte announced the launch of Eastern Sentry.
What happened on Wednesday was not an isolated incident. Russia's recklessness in the air along our eastern flank is increasing in frequency. We have seen drones violate our airspace in Romania, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Whether intentional or not, it is dangerous and unacceptable. To ensure that we are prepared and ready to defend every inch of Allied territory. We stood up Baltic Sentry at the beginning of this year to help safeguard critical infrastructure from reckless behavior in the Baltic Sea. And today, General Grinkewicz and I are here to announce that NATO is launching Eastern Sentry to bolster our posture even further along our eastern flank. This military activity will commence in the coming days and will involve a range of assets from allies including Denmark, France, United Kingdom, Germany and others. In addition to more traditional military capabilities, this effort will also feature elements designed to address the particular challenges associated with the use of drones.
Rutte said NATO was still assessing the possible intent behind the incursion, which led to Polish and allied NATO forces shooting down several drones. The first time NATO has taken such action since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. But he said Russia's action had been reckless and unacceptable, whether intentional or not. Russia said its forces had been attacking Ukraine at the time of the drone incursions and that it had not intended to hit any targets in Poland. Warsaw has rejected that explanation, saying the incursion was a deliberate attack. Meanwhile, Grinkewicz said Eastern Sentry was designed as a flexible and integrated operation to bolster defences along NATO's entire eastern flank, which stretches from the Baltic states in the north to Romania and Bulgaria in the south.
Poland and citizens from across the alliance should be assured by our rapid response earlier this week and our significant announcement here today. NATO will continue to defend every inch of its territory.
NATO already has substantial forces in Eastern Europe, including thousands of troops. It did not put a figure on how many additional troops would be involved in the new operation. Its announcement detailed a modest number of additional military assets, including 2 F-16 fighter jets and a frigate from Denmark, 3 Rafale fighter jets from France, and 4 Eurofighter jets from Germany.
I'll just make one comment on the drone wall, Secretary General. This is very in line with some of our thoughts of fortifying our eastern flank from a land and air domain perspective. And just coming back from the Baltics, the number of states are making investments in technologies, learning lessons from Ukraine about what kind of sensors and what kind of weapons, kinetic and non-kinetic, might be effective. And so integrating those sorts of defenses into our daily deterrence activities and into our regional plans is absolutely going to be something that we want to do moving forward. So we saw President Macron's announcement of providing the Rafale fighters. We have Danish F-16s that have been offered. A frigate has been offered. Some ground-based air defense capabilities have been offered. But I would ask that we don't focus on those specific items. The key to this is an entirely new defense design.
The mission, which began on the evening of September 12th, involves a range of assets integrating air and ground bases. Meanwhile, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk welcomed NATO's decisive and swift action through its Eastern Sentry initiative.
We welcomed with satisfaction the assurances and declarations of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte just made, and the Commander-in-Chief of Allied Forces in Europe, General Grinkowicz, to be exact. We asked for decisive and swift action. Dozens of hours have passed since our request in these decisions. The first decisions have been made. We are dealing with a new NATO initiative called Eastern Sentry.
Tusk further explained about the initiative and underlined that Poland would seek all possible long-term and short-term actions together with its allies, using the most modern and effective technologies.
Today's initiative announced by NATO will directly strengthen Poland's security. It has a broader allied dimension, of course, and will strengthen the security of all allies on the eastern flank who are in a similar situation to the one we were on that memorable night, although not as dramatic. All NATO countries on the eastern flank that feel a direct threat from Russia will be included in the Eastern Sentry initiative. This initiative will include both Air Force and ground-based air defense elements. It will provide the alliance with the necessary freedom to respond to threats from Russia, including air threats, missiles, and drones. We will seek together with our allies as NATO, not only as Poland, all possible long-term and short-term actions and solutions using the most modern, effective technologies. The test that Ukraine has been going through for years and that Poland has passed, fortunately on an incomparably smaller scale, but it was a brutal test nonetheless. It will be very useful in the work of fast, rapid construction of effective missile and air defenses.
At the same time, Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski urged allies to show Russian leader Vladimir Putin there are limits to Moscow's hybrid war.
We need to collectively show Putin that there are limits to his hybrid war, where we will stop him. Because remember, this is not an isolated incident. It's part of a pattern.
The United States has told the United Nations Security Council that it would defend every inch of NATO territory after a suspected Russian drone incursion into Poland. Acting US Ambassador to the UN Dorothy Shea told the 15-member body,
The United States stands by our NATO allies in the face of these alarming airspace violations.
Shea also noted Russia has intensified its bombing campaign against Ukraine since Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska as part of his bid to broker an end to Moscow's more than 3-year war in Ukraine.
These actions, now with the addition of violating the airspace of a U.S. ally, intentionally or otherwise, show immense disrespect for good faith U.S. efforts to bring an end to this conflict.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with advisors to the leaders of the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Italy to discuss Ukraine's readiness to share its military experience and contribute to NATO's collective defense. Zelensky announced this on Telegram.
Not only does Russia show utter unwillingness to end the war, but it is also escalating to the point of real threats to Europe by launching drones over Poland. Therefore, it is crucial to finalize the development of security guarantees as soon as possible.
The meeting also focused on coordinating security efforts to counter Russia's escalation, particularly the drone attacks targeting Poland. Such cooperation is especially vital for protecting critical infrastructure ahead of the winter season.
The President emphasized that Ukraine is ready to contribute to NATO's collective defense and share its experience. Our country proposes joint interception of all Russian targets over Ukrainian territory. Zelensky also stressed the need to further strengthen Ukraine's air defense systems.
Participants in the meeting included Jonathan Powell, National Security Advisor to the UK Prime Minister, Günther Sauter, Foreign and Security Policy Advisor to the German Chancellor, Fabrizio Saggio, Diplomatic Advisor to the Prime Minister of Italy, and Bertrand Buchwalter, Advisor to the President of France.